Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. Just a bit of housekeeping. The session is scheduled to go for 30 minutes. Any questions, please put your hand up and put it in the chat and we'll get around to it to the end. My name's Zarzour. I have been with Fusion 5 for 7 years now. And prior to that, I come from Vendorland. I've been in the ITSM market for a long, long time. And I've worn a few different hats at Fusion 5 over the last few years, and I'm currently the CTO and General Manager. So thanks for making the time, and I'm delighted to have Stefan. Stefan, go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Ed. Hi, my name is Stefan Hulls. I'm the Regional Director for Australia and New Zealand here at 4Me. I've been in the service management space for 15 years myself, mostly on vendor and system integrator side. Thanks, Ed.
Yeah, thank you. So the topic of today is, are you in the market for a new ITSM solution? And of course, as we all know, depending on the audience, every few years there's a cycle. And really the point of this slide is to demonstrate to you that we understand your pain. We know that IT management, IT anything management, or ITXM, has a lot of moving pieces, depending on different maturity models, attainment models. Every dot on this screen represents a body of work or a project my team has delivered over the years and added value to our customers, and of course, over the years, we start getting a lot of lessons learned and identifying early the dependencies between some of these bodies of work. And obviously, in relation to the topic of today, it makes it a lot harder to assess what's out there in the market. As you're all aware, there's nearly 100 vendors that play in the IT service management space. But we do have a couple of decades experience and we're here to help. Now, the typical frustrations that lead to an ITSM replacement, Stefan and I have been having this chat with customers as of late. So yeah, let's see if this sounds familiar, right? So I'll take the first two. Is your IT department still considered a cost center instead of a value center? And this is a very strong frustration we hear from our customers, where it's very tough to get budgets approved. It's tough to get a new headcount approved, even though the demand on IT, over the last 3 years has significantly increased. And of course, trying to do more with less and dropping the ball and things like that actually affects reputation. So my question to you is your IT suffering from a bad reputation? So these are some of the real business pains that we work with customers to address. Stefan, do you want to talk about email?
Sure. One thing that comes up a lot, of course, is the ever-present communication channel that is email. A lot of information gets lost on that channel, and I guess email kind of underties everything else that Ed has already spoken about. Emails can get lost in busy inboxes. Yeah, it's hard to follow up with them. Collaboration is difficult, but it is still, because of the lack of capability of certain tools or the cost that prohibits to do certain things, email is still a very common one. And that then, of course, leads to what we see quite a lot, where we see customers say that not the service itself that is provided. So, for example, your email or whatever the consumers, whatever your end users are consuming is affected, but it's the perceived support quality that is usually affected by this. Yeah.
Yeah, and this will make a lot more sense where we share with you the success story, because I've had it over the years. A lot of customers say, Ed, how can we completely switch off email? And they have a little giggle because they think it's not possible, or due to organizational change management, it can't be done. And this is a big one we get as well, especially with our shared services type of customers, where different teams have different history in an organization. They have their different help desk tools. There's no single source of truth. How can you run your IT service portfolio without you know, without having full-time employees trying to slice and dice data to present reports to management, basically, right? And does this sound like you? You know all of the above. You've just learned to deal with it, and you just stick with your existing tool every renewal because it's just too hard to change, right? Um, and onto that is also the, you know, how much does it cost, right? Do I have enough resources for such a project? If it ain't broke, you know, and this is the other thing, like we've been in this industry for a while, and very often, correct me if I'm wrong, Stefan, the stakeholders that actually recommended the current tool in place are still there. So they definitely want to avoid an egg in face sort of situation where they go and ask funding to replace an ITSM solution. They actually were the ones that build a business case to put in. You know?
I fully agree, Ed. Most of the time, and this is what we see, what I've seen time and time over, uh, the devil you know is better than the devil that you don't know. Yeah. It could get worse. Yeah. And let's be, we're all not juniors in this industry. Vendors do have a certain reputation of over promising and under delivering. So that is kind of accepted as a fact in the IT industry. But for me, we really believe we can elevate that level of quality. A switch doesn't need to be expensive. Operations doesn't need to be expensive. We actually think that service management can be quite simple. Yeah, if you keep a few things in mind.
Absolutely. And so these are the typical frustrations. So then for however, you know, whatever timing or however the emotional and political drivers occur in your organization, then you go to market. You know, you start looking at ITSM tools, and I can guarantee, I'll talk about the commercial pains, and Stefan can talk about the technical pains. You know, you go through this massive process to vet out the next evolution of service management in your organization. And of course, depending on your industry, different tools may tickle your fancy more, but you know, these are the gotchas, right? You get a budget approved. It's going to cost X in licensing. It's going to cost X in services. It's going to cost X in support / upgrades. But you know, being forced to do one or two upgrades every year, I understand that in a business application world, you know, ERP and CRM and things like that are mission critical, you know, but does it have to be like this in ITSM? So the next time you're in the market, be it this year, next year, the year after, whatever, have a look at, you know, if you can avoid such a commercial pain. Back to Stefan's point, poor customer service. It pains me when a customer asks a vendor, and these could be Gartner top magic quadrant vendors. They get asked for bug fixes, for enhancement requests, and the customer is just waiting 12 to 18 months to be heard. You know, that's also not on, and it causes commercial risk. Licensing complexity, you know, you sign a 3 to 5 year contract, you are ready, you know, you did some sort of quick start, and now you want to implement change and release management, and you realize that you don't have the right bundle for that license, and the vendor doesn't allow you to change your contract because it's locked in for 3 years. You know, you can't, in this COVID, work from home, work from anywhere, you know, companies are evolving, and there's got to be licensing simplicity and flexibility. As a matter of fact, we'll post a link at the end of the session. We have an ebook on how to avoid the top 5 hidden costs in IT service management. Stefan, over to you. What about the users that are using the system every single day?
So for most of you that are in the day-to-day operations, you make a switch from a tool once, but what actually matters is what does the day-to-day operations look like? How can we make it as efficient as possible for you to work with, and is not fun necessarily, yeah, but enjoyable, yeah, that it doesn't frustrate you. So what we found, and so the For Me team has its roots in, we're all ex-ServiceNow, ex-BMC. We're used to the big enterprise tools, and we found recording or capturing of data always to be extraordinarily cumbersome. Yeah, there's a lot of effort involved in just getting a ticket raised, getting an incident raised. Yeah. then the next thing is, sometimes with vendors, it's actually just not possible for customers to administer their own tool. They rely on external help. And sorry to throw you under the bus here, Ed, but customers end up relying on external parties like Fusion 5 to do basic stuff like building a report, which it's 2022. I just think this is no longer acceptable. Yeah, in the world we live in. We find that a lot of customers, when we talk to them, even still in this day and age, struggle with their self-service portal adoptions. They're usually happy when they see 40-50% usage of requests coming via self-service portals. What we see in For Me customers is a very quick switch from sometimes 0 up to 80-85% in the first couple of days and weeks. And we have customers that have basically said, look, the portal is the only way to go. And they've switched off all other communication methods. And the last one is one that is one of my pet peeve projects, inaccurate reporting. We do a lot of this stuff in service management to justify and to explain to the business this is why it's important. But a lot of the data that actually underlies all of these reports is quite inaccurate. And I'll give you a practical example of this. A lot of tools don't allow you to switch a record type from an incident to an RFI. So if a customer requests something and has a question, he raises an RFI. But some tools are just not able to make the switch from one to the other. Now, you might think that's a technical thing, but then you're actually reporting duplicate on effort that didn't happen. And these are all the small details that we took care of, yeah, that make life just a whole lot easier for you in your daily service management operation.
Absolutely. And I want to go back to the third circle because I did spend a fair bit of time in pre-sales, as you know, Stefan. And it pains me that, you know, during the sales cycle, vendors come in and put a lot of energy to skinning the portal and making it really, really pretty and sexy and everything. But then when the project kicks off, you know, customers realize that not all ITSM tools are created equal. There are limitations in the self-service portal, and this is actually quite important because if you don't get the self-service portal spot on, you're not going to have the maximum user adoption. You might need a full-time employee that just, and I'll give you a practical example here. Some tools, if you have 70 services in your catalog, you manually, even if it's wizard driven and low code, you need to create 70 different templates and offerings and publish them. Now, who's going to maintain that as your company evolves? Like things like that really need to be taken into account. But enough doom and gloom. We're very proud of Shell Harbour City Council, and we'll post a link to the case study and the interview and the last webinar we did with them. But this is a perfect example of the frustrations on the very first slide being avoided and fixed, and also the pains we just shared with you. You know, Marcos was pretty savvy. He's been burned before. He was burned before. He wanted to find a tool that gave him maximum value and avoided some of those pains. So I'm not going to go through all the problems. I think we did that, but the outcome, I want to just share with you the outcome really quick. Now, Shell Harbour, and this council touches the lives of 70,000 residents in the area, right? All the employees and contractors now have a digital storefront. The implementation was 5 weeks, ladies and gentlemen. You know, it's super rapid because For Me works out of the box. And they were able to switch off the email channel at go live, and they didn't drop a beat. You know, the week prior to go live, the exact same number of requests and demand was coming in the week they went live, but through the portal. I think only one person sent an email to the old mailbox. It was amazing success. And also through the process working with For Me and us, and you know, such a team effort, they really didn't know that they had over 70 services in their portfolio. And it's all automated now, and Marcos has all the reports. He doesn't need to go into spreadsheets anymore. So it's such a great story. Do you want to add anything, Stefan? This was a fun project, wasn't it?
No, it was great. I mean, it shows how easy For Me is to adopt. And I just want to make clear, for me, doesn't care about the size of your organization. We can handle any kind of complexity. Matter of fact, this was quite a complex implementation from an organizational standpoint. But what I'd like to add is, apart from taking 5 weeks from the first day that we started working to go live, we didn't work full time all of these 5 weeks.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
It was in a sprint methodology. We were sprinting. Yeah. A couple of hours here and there. Yeah. It wasn't like we
It was
used
very
certain people
agile
for.
and
Yeah.
collaborative. It wasn't waterfall, you know what I mean? And I think not you can't do that with all tools either, right? Some tools you have to let's sit down and workshop incident management. Let's sit down and workshop problem.
Right.
You know, like this is so not like that. And yeah, so that's how Shell Harbour did it. And you know, the other customers that we have that have gone live since. I'll give you a chance here to introduce for me on a single slide before we get to the demo. Stefan, go ahead.
Well, I hope we don't lose everybody here because we're starting to get to the advertorial of the session. Yeah. This is of course a session about For Me. Yeah. What sort of our belief or our reasons to exist is, what do you get when you sign up for Me? Is you get a cloud first, and what I mean by that is we don't just host a tool in the cloud. It's like Dropbox, Netflix. It upgrades itself, it just runs. Yeah? You don't need to worry about upgrades, downtime. It's all taken care of. Yeah, cloud first, world-class IT service management. I mean that we have a suite that is. It's still. I've been working with the tool for the better part of 10 years now. It's just an incredible suite from the way that it's thought out. And I have to work with it on a daily basis for at least 4 hours internally. So, you know, self-administrable enterprise service management. For those of you not familiar with the term enterprise service management, or just to clarify what we mean by that, the way For Me is built, you can actually design workflows, processes, automate certain things that you want to automate across the enterprise. And this is not we're going on an epic 2-year journey, yeah, because we need to keep data segregation in mind, and we need to keep security in mind. We have a unique architecture. We've essentially developed a sort of a slightly improved, enhanced version of multi-tenancy that allows you to collaborate and share while still being in complete control of data privacy and visibility. Yeah.
Absolutely.
In
So I was
terms,
just checking the time, Stefan. So let me do the rapid FAQ and hand over to you because we've got 10 minutes. So what we would like to do here, we've been doing this for a while, as you can see, Stefan and I, and we get the usual suspects during the demo. You know, we have, yeah, so let me share them with you before I hand over to Stefan. So it's almost like Jeopardy, you know, can For Me do the following, right? Absolutely out of the box. We've had a customer in finance, due to APRA regulations, get off their old ITSM system, and there was nothing wrong with it, but the auditability and compliance was a pain. You know, For Me has an out of the box auditor role. You can give it an external party, and it doesn't impact your team at all. Great feature. There's the workflows that Stefan was talking about. You can see that little mechanical arm that, you know, symbolizes actual automation rules that can run. Very clean, crisp UI. Do you have Kanban? That's the question. Absolutely. You know, your teams can work however they want. They can, you know, have agile boards, etc. This one's quite important, especially in shared services and government, where they may want to extend service management to the general public and they do not actually use or manage the users in their Active Directory. As you can see there, it can handle that. It can handle that, no problems actually. And this is huge. This is going to give every single analyst you have at least an hour back of their day. There's no more click button, new email, compose, copy and paste, send. You just mention someone, they get notified, they go into the record. Extremely modern UI. And the reports, I don't want to bang it on the head. The differentiator is the one you see on the right. For Me is the only solution that ships out of the box with service cost tracking. Because if you remember, the very first frustration we mentioned was does your organization still think you're a cost center or a value center? And there's no way for you to back your team, back your resources, other than showing management exactly how much services are costing, what the user sentiment is, what the risks profiles are, and things like that. And it's all out of the box. And this is also huge. It's called deflection. The self-service users through the awesome portal have no need to hassle your resources. They can monitor progress of all custom workflows, as you can see visually with the milestones and things like that. And this is a question we get a lot. Okay, self-service users have mobile app. That's great. What about analysts and managers? Absolutely, mobility across the board. And it's actually it's a very, very nice UI compared to the other vendors. And last but not least, the virtual bot's actually included, but it's not like other tools. So if you have user A and user B interacting with the bot, the experience is going to be completely different because the bot has the context of the services and the assets that user has. It's amazing. So over to you, Stefan, to share a teaser with our audience. I'll make you presenter.
Beautiful. Could you just go back to the slides with the technical challenges? So as a reminder for everybody, what we're gonna talk about. So we're about to go into the live demo of the product. Yeah, you're about to see a demonstration of what For.me is capable of. And I'm going to focus on the 4 technical pains that we focused earlier around data entry, complex system administration. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you so you will see my Firefox browser where I have my For.me instance open. Yeah. So you should now, in 3, 2, 1, see my Firefox. Yep. Excellent. So what we see here is you are in the inbox area of For.me. And the way we've designed For.me is we've basically said, well, everybody knows email, so why not build a service management tool that sort of acts in a way that email does, where everything that is assigned to you is in your inbox. So I can see I'm in my inbox here. I have 8 new items here. I have this request selected. And on my screen, I can see it's a request for information, its status, its completion date. And I can simply capture or document or communicate with the customer or the end user via the note field. Yeah. So what I can do here is I can say, well, I actually have another question for the user that I can see up here. It's requested by Carla cluster. So I can say, can you please share some more detail with me? Yeah. And what this does is it automatically, when I set the status to waiting for customer, it sends a email notification to Carla notifying her that we are waiting on her to complete this. I can also document my time, and in documenting the time, we automatically calculate the cost of the incident, the request, and subsequently what it costs you to provide the service. At the same time, I can also loop in one of my colleagues. So I can say, hey, Michael, please take a look at this. Take a look at this issue. Yeah. So it's really easy to quickly handle a couple of notes, send out communication, and keep everything in the system and clear. Yeah. You can also engage with knowledge articles or configuration items. Everything is just there at the push of a button. Yeah, it's all on your screen. So the second thing we talked about, because it's a pain we see quite a lot in the daily operations, is complex system administration. Yeah. Now, where you administer your system, it's the 5th icon over here. It's called your system settings. Yeah. And in my demo environment, you can then see here the account settings, the email policy. Do I want to, for example, enable strong privacy so only certain members can see records? It's all no code choices that allow you to make to map very complex organizational requirements. For example, on your email policy, yeah, do you want to allow inbound email or not? Yeah. What happens if an unknown person sends an email? Do you want to register that person or not? Yeah. So everything can be set up and defined in here. You can even connect apps, yeah. If you want to, for example, discover certain elements in your infrastructure, you can simply connect those apps straight from within the For.me App Store, yeah. You can have automatic translations if you collaborate across time zones. Basically, the entire administration is click-based and read. There is no need for coding or any development skills. We try to keep it as simple to use as possible. In terms of the limitations of the self-service portal that I spoke about, so what we actually offer is a environment which allows the customer to define what
Ooh, I can't hear you anymore, Stefan. What Stefan's showing you here is the broadcasting capability, which is actually quite unique. Through broadcasting, you can just say, I'm also affected, and it joins it into a major incident. Let me just check with Stefan if it's just me. Hey, Michelle, I know you're in the call. If you want to just, can you still hear Stefan? Just in the chat, anyone?
about in For.me is the reporting end. Yeah. Yes, Ed?
Nothing? Nothing? I can hear you
Okay.
again. Perfect.
And on the reporting end, what you can see here is these are dashboards that we provide you with out of the box. They're real time, they're fully interactive. You can build your own dashboards by simply clicking plus and then adding reports from our reports library and drag and drop them into place as you need them. We provide around almost 400 reports as part of the system, so 333, and we've disabled a couple that are sensitive in certain countries when it comes to time tracking. Yeah. And we provide you, of course, with the service insight reports that show you how much your service is costing you, whether or not the cost is going up or down, what the service satisfaction is currently, yeah, anything related to your service. And this is all ready to go. There's nothing that you need to do on your end. And the last thing on the report side I want to highlight, we, of course, being a SIAM solution, a SIAM first solution, we include all of your providers as part of the reporting as well. So you could, for example, if you imagine GlobalNet here being Telstra, you can see what services Telstra provides you, how many SLAs are covered, and for each month, what are the open requests, target violations on the SLA, and what's the satisfaction from the end users regarding these services. That pretty much concludes my demo, Ed. So I'll hand back to you.
Thank you, sir. And what a teaser that was. And you can tell we've done this a few times, but I hope we're hitting the point home here, everyone. Let me wrap up real quick before we look at the questions. So in our humble opinion, For.me is indeed an ITSM platform like no other. It's taken Europe by storm in the last 3 years or so, and we stood up the data center in Australia in July, and we've had some great success, and now it's just time to share it with the world. So just remember, no upgrades. Every single Sunday, my team and I, we jump on the dev update, and it's so refreshing to see how much work goes into this from a customer service perspective. For.me is a great vendor. If you have a good idea or a new feature, they really action it pretty quick. 2 years in a row, I will put a link for this, Gartner's People Choice Award, so it's not a fluke. This is huge. Simple user month licensing, so it's consumption based, not time bound. Basically, you buy the capacity, per user and so on. We really don't care if it takes you a year to consume the licenses or 7 years to consume the licenses. There's nothing like it in ITSM at the moment. We've already addressed the ultra rapid implementation, and we're not talking about, quick start, 3 modules. We're talking about the entire functionality. And Stefan was talking about the architecture. It's not just hosted on AWS, like other vendors have an on-premise version, a cloud version, and so on. This was actually developed on AWS. What it means is you don't only have the For Me developers working on this product, you have the AWS developers as well, and there's thousands of them. I mean, that virtual bot is, you know, it comes from the platform. Well, so what? Well, other vendors do this as well, but they need to develop it in their application, and guess who pays for that, right? We showed you the modern UI, we showed you the self-service, and we showed you the service cost tracking. So where to from here? I'm about to post all these links. So if you were just looking, once again, thank you for gracing us with your presence. You know, just follow us on LinkedIn. I'll post the URLs, bookmark them. But if you're in evaluation phase or you have a renewal coming up this year, next year, whatever, just go to our website, you know, Enterprise Service Management. For me, there's a little chat at the bottom. It'll get routed to my team, and let's book a 15-minute discovery session to see how we can help you. And before I go to the questions, I mean, today is May the 4th, and I couldn't help myself. So May the 4th be with you all. Stefan, thanks again for helping me and joining us for this webinar. Okay, there doesn't seem to be any questions, but I'm going to post the links. There we go. All the links, if you want to just grab them and bookmark them, every reference material we've put in there. We'll hang on the line for a little bit longer. If you do have any questions, we'll answer them. Otherwise, see you on our website and see you soon. Thanks again.